Hello students, welcome you all to another video of our engineering physics series where we are going to discuss about dual nature. So from the name you can identify dual nature, that means two type of nature. That means if we consider light, one is light, then light particles, light is a wave. Already we know that light is a wave because electromagnetic waves we have already studied. So electromagnetic wave means light waves. So light is nothing but a wave, but light is also behaving like a particle. Light also behaves like a particle, and each particle is known as photons. Each new of energy set a packet of energy or photon. Since light behaves like a wave as well as particle, this is known as dual nature of light. Similarly, material particles are also two different categories or two different properties. One is particle nature, another is wave like nature. So material particles are also behave like a wave under certain conditions. So dual nature means both wave like nature and particle nature. So here we are going to discuss about the particle nature of light as well as the wave nature of matter, because already we know that light is a wave, so we have to prove the particle nature. Similarly, all the matters are consisting of particles, so already we know that the particle nature of matter, and we have to define or derive the wave like nature. So first we are going to discuss about one property which mention or define the particle nature of light, that is known as photoelectric effect. Photoelectric effect. So everything is written here. So before that, just try to understand what is photoelectric effect. Here you can see it consists of two terms. One is photo, another one is electric. So photo word is basically used for light, and electric means charged particles or current. So when current is developed by the help of light, that phenomenon is known as photoelectric effect. Again I am repeating, what is photoelectric effect? Now we are developing current, electric current, by the help of light. When light is used to develop electric current, that is said to be photoelectric effect. So we can define that like this. Photoelectric effect is the phenomenon of emission of electrons from the surface of a metal, because all the metal surfaces are consisting of free electrons. So when we put some light energy over it, if that light energy is sufficient to remove one electron, then the electron will be free to move. So it will start moving and we are getting some current. That phenomenon is known as photoelectric current. That phenomenon is photoelectric effect, and the current which is developed due to that is known as photoelectric current. Clear? So photoelectric effect means the phenomenon of emission of electron from the surface of metal when light of suitable wavelength falls on it. Because each metal, if you consider, this is the nucleus. Nucleus is positively charged. If one electron is revolving around the nucleus, then there is some energy, binding energy. So when the external energy, the light energy, is sufficient to break this bond, then this electron will free to move. That amount of energy, that minimum amount of energy, is known as threshold energy, which is defined as also the work function. So work function means the minimum amount of energy required to remove one electron from the surface of metal. If energy is minimum, then its corresponding frequency will be minimum, because we know that energy equal to h nu. If energy is directly proportional to nu, so if energy is minimum, then corresponding frequency will be minimum. So work function is nothing but, work function is written as phi. In some book it is also written as W naught also. So work function is the minimum energy required to remove one electron. So the corresponding frequency is also known as the minimum frequency, which is known as threshold frequency. Threshold frequency. So threshold frequency is what? Now the minimum frequency required to remove one electron from the surface of a metal without giving any kinetic energy. That means this much of energy is just sufficient to break the bond. There is no extra amount of energy for the electron to move. That is known as work function, and the corresponding frequency is known as threshold frequency. Similarly, one more term you can see, stopping potential. If we need to stop the electrons which are traveling, we need some negative potential because electrons are negatively charged particle. In order to stop them, we have to give some repulsive force. Negative and negative, there will be repulsion. So if we put some negative potential, then there will be some repulsion. So the minimum negative potential required to stop the electron is known as stopping potential. And saturation means the maximum value. So saturation current is not the maximum value of photoelectric current with increasing intensity. Clear about all this? So photoelectric effect is the phenomenon of emission of electron from the surface of metal when light energy falls on it. And the minimum energy required is known as threshold energy, which is also known as work function, and the corresponding frequency is known as threshold frequency. And always remember, this work function, threshold frequency, and also the stopping potential, these are different for different type of metal, because the bond energy of different metals are different. So in order to break that bond, we need that much amount of energy from externally. That is the minimum energy. So the values of work function, threshold frequency, stopping potential are different for different metals. Okay. So experimentally, next we will see. So if we consider one plate is here, emitter plate. Okay, and this plate is present in a tube. This is present in a tube. Another plate, C plate, is here, which is connected. One ammeter is written here. Then similarly, one voltmeter is written. Negative, positive, negative, positive. V stands for voltmeter, A stands for ammeter. So when light falls, this is the opening part. Let light waves falls on it. Then if this amount of energy is sufficient, then the electrons will remove from it, and these electrons will travel towards the C plate. Because C plate is connected to the positive terminal. All these electrons start moving towards the C plate. So we will find out a current, and we can easily measure the current. Always remember, we can measure here the current, and what are the different factors we are going to discuss here. If n number of electrons removed, we know that I equal to Q by T. Again, we know that Q equal to Ne, so Ne by T. So here we are going to discuss about the factors on which photoelectric current depends. So first we will discuss about intensity. Intensity. Already we know that intensity of light is nothing but the amount of energy of light falling per unit time per unit area. So if intensity increases, if we increase the intensity, current is nothing but N E by T, number of electrons removing, charge of an electron divided by time per each second or unit time. If intensity increases, that means the energy of photoelectron, the energy of the external source increases. For example, we consider let one electron requires 1 electron volt of energy to remove from the surface of metal. So when 5 electron volt energy is given, then 5 electron will remove. When 10 electron volt energy is given from the external, then 10 electron will remove. So with increase in energy, the number of electron gradually increases, that is N increases. So N is directly proportional to current. N is directly proportional to current. So with increase in intensity, number of electrons increasing or the number of electrons releasing from the metal surface gradually increases. So intensity is directly proportional to photoelectric current. So if you plot a graph, then photoelectric current and intensity, then it will be a straight line passing through origin, because the intensity is directly proportional to photoelectric current. With increase in intensity, the energy of the external source increases. So when energy increases, more number of electrons will release, as a result of which more current we are getting. So photoelectric current is directly proportional to intensity. So with increase in potential of the C, as the particles will experience more force, so they will reach that end C more quickly. So they will take small time, and time is inversely proportional to current. When time decreases, current increases. So if we plot a graph between potential along x-axis and photoelectric current along y-axis for two different intensities, then we will be getting graphs like this. This is the maximum current. Let this is I1, I2. So I1 is greater than I2. This is saturation current. This is a saturation current for I1. So with increase in potential, the value gradually increases. And here you can see they meet at a single point. At this point, current is 0. Y-axis coordinate is 0 along x-axis. That means this is known as stopping potential. The energy or the potential which is used to stop the photoelectrons, that is known as stopping potential. So similarly, if we plot a graph for different frequencies, we plot a graph for different frequencies having same intensity. Intensity same means saturation current same. Let nu3, nu2, nu1. So nu3 is greater than nu2 is greater than nu1. Here potential, photoelectric current. So with increase in frequency, the energy falling on the surface of metal gradually increases, because we know that E equal to h nu. So energy is directly proportional to frequency. If external energy increases, then the electrons which will release from the metal surface will have more energy. As a result of which, we need more energy to stop them. So stopping potential also increases. Stopping potential also increases. So always remember, the frequency of external radiation, that means external light, controls the maximum kinetic energy as well as the stopping potential. So the results of all these experiments are known as photoelectric effect, are known as laws of photoelectric effect. So what are the laws then? And the laws are, one is photoelectric effect is a spontaneous process. So whenever the light falling on the metal surface will be sufficient energy to break the bond, then it will break the bond and the electrons will be free to move. So electron will be free. And the minimum frequency of light required to release one electron is known as threshold frequency. So below that there won't be any photoelectric effect. And the intensity, as we discussed, intensity, with increase in intensity, the photoelectric current also increases, because with increase in intensity, number of electrons releasing from the metal surface gradually increases, and current is directly proportional to number of charged particles. So current also increases. And one more thing is, the frequency of external radiation controls the maximum kinetic energy as well as the stopping potential, as we discussed in the last graph. So these are the laws of photoelectric effect. So next we will discuss about Einstein's photoelectric equation. So if we consider a light whose frequency is nu, then it will consisting of photons, each of energy equal to h nu. Energy will be h nu. If this amount of light falls on a metal surface whose work function is phi naught, which is equal to h nu naught, because phi naught is the work function, that is the minimum energy, and nu naught is the minimum frequency. So this much amount of energy is falling on the metal surface, and out of which h nu naught will be used to release the electron, to break the bond. For example, we are given 100 joule of energy, out of which 70 joule of energy is just used to break the bond or to release the electron. So the remaining 30 will be h nu minus h nu naught. This is the remaining. This will be available as kinetic energy to the photoelectrons. This is known as Einstein's photoelectric equation. So when we consider a photon, for example, we consider any light whose frequency is nu. So each photon will be energy h nu. When h nu amount of energy falls and minus that work function, because that is the minimum energy required to break the bond, remaining part will be kinetic energy. We can also rearrange this equation like h nu is nothing but c by lambda. Similarly, nu naught equal to c by lambda naught, which is equal to half m v max square. This is also another form in terms of lambda and lambda naught. Again, we can also rearrange like this: h nu minus h nu naught equal to E V naught. Then what is V naught? V naught is here stopping potential. V naught is stopping potential. So if we multiply charge with potential, always we will get the energy. So the minimum amount of energy required to stop the electrons must be equal to the minimum energy, must be equal to the energy with which the electrons are moving. So this must be equal to kinetic energy. So this is another form of photoelectric effect. Clear? These are Einstein's photoelectric equations in different form. Then we will discuss about the de Broglie or matter waves. So as the light, which is a wave, behaves like a particle, then de Broglie postulated that all the material particles may behave like a wave. Then he found out that when the material particles are in motion, that is very important point, material particles in motion are associated with a wave-like nature, which is known as matter wave or de Broglie wave, which is known as wave particle duality. So we can derive an expression for wavelength of the matter wave. Already we know that E equal to h nu. If we consider a light of frequency nu, then each photon will have energy h nu. Again, we have the formula E equal to mc square, mass into velocity square, Einstein mass energy equivalence. If we equate both these equations, h nu equal to mc square, then here you can write down nu equal to c by lambda. So you can write down mc square. One c we can cancel here. So h by lambda equal to mc or lambda equal to h by mc. For photon, since it is a light, we are using the velocity of light. If we consider a particle which is having mass m and moving with velocity v, then its momentum will be mv. So we can write down lambda equal to h by mv or simply you can write down h by p. So this is the wavelength associated with a matter wave. If a particle of mass m moving with velocity v, then it will have momentum mv, and the wavelength associated with this matter wave will be h. H is Planck's constant, 6.625 10 to the minus 34 joule second. H divided by p. As we know that the relation between momentum and kinetic energy, we know that kinetic energy equal to p square by 2m. In this expression, we have p, so we can write down p square equal to 2m kinetic energy, or p equal to square root of that square root. So we can also rearrange this equation like this: lambda equal to h by 2m ek kinetic energy square root. This is another form of wavelength of de Broglie wave or matter wave. Okay. Then de Broglie wavelength of electron. Now we have already derived. The wavelength is h by 2. Either you can directly write down h by mv or h by p, or simply in terms of 2m ek. Clear? This is the formula for wavelength of matter wave or de Broglie wave. But kinetic energy must be equal to charge into potential, and in case of electron, charge is E into V. If we use that value here, lambda equal to h by 2 m E V square root. Now you can see h is a constant. H is Planck's constant, which value already we know that 6.625 10 to the minus 34 joule second. This is mass of electron 9.1 10 to the minus 31 kg. Then charge of electron 1.6 10 to the minus 19 coulomb. All these values are constant. So if we put all these values, we will find out like 150 by V. V is the potential angstrom, or if we find out the square root term, 12.27 angstrom divided by V square root. So this is the wavelength associated with an electron moving within a potential difference of v. ठीक है, potential difference of v. Clear? This v is not velocity, this is potential difference. Next we have phase velocity and group velocity. So phase velocity is also known as wave velocity. Phase velocity is also known as wave velocity. Then what is wave velocity? Now the velocity with which a wave travels or propagates in a medium is known as phase velocity. So then what is group velocity? Now the velocity that is the average velocity. Okay, phase or wave velocity means for a single wave. Already we know that the velocity formula, phase velocity, let we have written for phase velocity p equal to nu lambda. Again we can also rearrange that. If we multiply 2 pi, nu lambda is there, we multiply 2 pi, divide 2 pi, then we can write down 2 pi nu divided by, we can write down 2 pi by lambda. 2 pi nu is nothing but omega, 2 pi by lambda is k, so we can write down phase velocity equal to omega by k. This is just rearranged form of nu lambda. So phase velocity is nothing but the wave velocity, that is the velocity with which a single wave travels in a medium or propagates in a medium. Then what is group velocity? Then group, from the name you can identify a number of waves. So when a number of waves travels in a medium, their average velocity, the average velocity of a number of waves travels in a medium is known as group velocity. And group velocity is nothing but d, here you see, here we have omega by k, this is d omega by dk. So this is the expression for phase velocity and group velocity. Now we are going to calculate the relation between them, phase velocity and group velocity. We have both the formula, phase velocity equal to omega by k, group velocity equal to d omega by dk. Now we have to find out a relation between them. From here you can calculate omega equal to k into phase velocity. If we take derivative both sides, d omega by dk derivative, then u into v formula we have to use. Derivative of first k derivative with respect to k 1, so second remaining constant plus first remains constant, derivative of second. Clear? Just u into v formula, derivative of first, second remains constant plus derivative of second, first remains constant. Again if we rearrange and see here, what is d omega by dk? D omega by dk is nothing but group velocity. So you can directly write down group velocity equal to phase velocity plus k into d vp. We have divided here lambda, d lambda, multiplied here d lambda. Remains same, because if you multiply and divide same factor, then the value remains unchanged. But what is k? K is 2 pi by lambda, so lambda is 2 pi by k, and d lambda by dk, because here we get a new term d lambda by dk, so d lambda by dk is nothing but derivative 2 pi 1 by k, derivative is k square here. So if we use that value here, we will get the final result. So final result will be group velocity equal to phase velocity. See here, group velocity equal to phase velocity plus this term plus k is there, derivative of phase velocity with respect to lambda, into this derivative term minus 2 pi by k square. So 1 k we can cancel here, minus 2 pi by k. So what is 2 pi by k? 2 pi by k equal to lambda. So you can directly write down group velocity equal to phase velocity. Negative sign here, you can see negative sign is there. 1 k we can cancel, 2 pi by k is nothing but lambda, so this is lambda d vp by d lambda. So this is the relation between phase velocity and group velocity. So this is all about dual lecture. Thank you.